Hello, this is another audio-only friendly video, so if you're performing brain surgery, please keep your eyes on the patient. Thanks, let's dive in. Today is another bit of a ramble. Today, I would like to talk about quite possibly the most offensive word in a man's vocabulary, or at least a word that, if used towards a man or in the context of a man, is probably, outside of certain racial slurs, depending on what race you are. It's the most offensive word you could possibly use in reference to that man. And that word is emotion or emotional. And in sort of exploring the idea of emotion, I seem to have found a couple of ways or environments in which a man's expression of emotion is deemed acceptable. Those ways, so far that I've identified, although this way of seeing is quite new for me. But yeah, one of the ways I've identified is comedy. That's a really great way of a man being allowed to express his emotion, because if he's going to show a moment of vulnerability, it can be deemed acceptable because if he's clever enough, he can make it funny. Louis C.K. Was really good at doing this, and he sort of learned how to do it from George Carlin, another great comedian. And obviously Louis C.K. he has his own issues that we know about, but regardless. And then there's just comedy. If you can be clever enough about it, it's generally a bit more acceptable. I watched actually Patton Oswalt's somewhat recent Netflix special, and that one was a bit I don't know. He showed emotion and he showed vulnerability, and that much I respect. However, as much as I like Patton Oswalt, I didn't really like that special. So, and that's kind of like, and it's like, is it because he leaned too much in that vulnerability? Did I, as a man, get sort of offended by sort of the cringe nature of what I was experiencing? Like maybe he's saying all these things about himself that I wouldn't dare say about myself. Potentially, I think. I think there's certainly a possibility. I will not deny that. So yeah, comedy is one of the ways in which a man is allowed to express emotion. Did I just trap myself? I think I just trapped myself. The other way, more recently that I found is it's kind of funny, actually. It's something that is banned in most places that men are allowed to express their emotion, and that is the gym. Lifting weights. You have the grunters and all that kind of stuff, and it's cringe or whatever, but it's kind of cringe because in a way they are expressing emotion in the only way that is kind of deemed masculinely acceptable. But it's also a bit obnoxious. But regardless, that's one way of doing it. And the reason I discovered this was a sort of like unusual power lifter, the Grizzly. I'm not going to try and say his Russian name because I'll completely butcher it, but I'll probably splice in a clip of a couple of his screams. And Really amazing guy. Really, and I might be misattributing here. I don't want to put. I don't want to be all Freudian on this guy. Both because I have no place in assuming why he does these screams, but I can assume, and obviously my assumption could be wrong, and so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. And I don't mean this as a slight towards him in any way. Actually, when I see him scream like that, I actually have an enormous amount of respect. Not only for what he's accomplishing with his powerlifting, but also just with his ability to embrace that, and that he's actually found a way to express himself in a way that is potentially a bit more socially acceptable, at least as far as our pretty messed up culture goes. So yeah. So screaming in weightlifting, that's one way of doing it. Or just anything that might even be considered by some people as toxic masculinity. And I feel like there's kind of like there needs to be a different definition for what some people are calling toxic masculinity, because to me, there's a very big difference between toxic masculinity and performative masculinity. So when I say performative masculinity, it sounds just like it is. It's a bit of a performance. They're showing almost like a male peacock, with the big feathers, and can you imagine being a peacock in a enlightened peacock society, and everyone's saying that when you fan your feathers, you're being toxic? Like that's not an appropriate way of telling a man how to be in his natural state, if you ask me. And so yeah, I've kind of found in this exploration of like what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in expressing emotion as a man, we're sort of pigeonholed into these like singular ways. Either you have to be clever with comedy, or you have to be really strong. And if you're not clever or strong, physically, I mean, basically, it seems to me like you don't really have an acceptable way of expressing emotion. And whether you like it or not, men are human, and humans have emotions. And so I guess there's the other way of expressing emotion as a man, which is to do it sort of more in a feminine way. So you have like these artsy fartsy dudes who it's just like another form of cringe. It's like these guys are way too feminine, but at the same time maybe they're not. How do we know? Are they feminine because they're expressing emotion in a way that is not through comedy or or through strength? And again, like another way of expressing masculinity, well, again, it's another form of strength, which is destruction. And so you may have noticed while I'm ranting or rambling about emotion, I'm placing TNT and the odd ender crystal, and I just feel like it's a sort of an appropriate metaphor that while I talk about emotion, I actually perform an expression of a man's emotion through the ways in which it is currently socially acceptable. And because there's these sort of pigeonholing of the appropriate expression of emotion. Well, yeah, we seem to get confused. So lately, I've been trying to communicate more honestly, and sometimes it can be shown as vulnerability, perhaps. And I recently got into an argument with someone online on a platform that none of you would necessarily be familiar with. It's completely separate from the Minecraft community, or apparently I don't know how to place ender crystals. But anyway, just a different platform, and so I was trying to be diplomatic with this fellow. I was trying to get to the heart of our misunderstanding, and it seems the way that I affronted him was irreconcilable, and part of his communication of how he felt about me was that he felt like I was a bit of I don't know, what's the term? It's like, I guess, effeminate. He was using some kind of term to imply that I was effeminate in some way. And it's kind of funny to me how, based on different scenarios, that people can have very, very contrasting definitions of who you are as a person in their view. Because in the Minecraft community that I'm in, I'm not trying to brag or anything. I'm just speaking objectively and without judgment. A lot of the people in the community that I'm in, they just randomly call me a Chad or whatever. And I think Chad is kind of sort of a good thing, or it's a masculine thing. Basically not effeminate, I guess is what I'm saying. I still don't really fully know. I don't think I'll ever know what it really means, but I think I can safely assume that it's I don't know. It's masculine in some way. And yeah, I think I got a bit off track there, but my point is, if you show any sort of vulnerability or compassion or empathy in the ways that are not predefined by cleverness or strength, it can be a bit. It can definitely be perceived by most people as effeminate, and I think that's kind of unfortunate, because, like I said, if you're not strong, physically strong, if you're not destructive, you don't really have the ability to express emotion in a way that is healthy, and humans need to express emotion. I wish they didn't, because, I'm terrified of expressing emotion, as are most men, and so it ultimately leads to scenarios like this, where I built a small little base with a few of my chaps, and I've never griefed anything before. I'm hoping to be a bit metaphorical here. I was building a Constantiam academy here, but I just don't want to finish it. So I thought I'd use it for fodder of this metaphorical backdrop for this video that I'm doing. But yeah, usually griefing is a tool for expressing masculinity and sometimes expressing emotion. Some base hunters will grief as a performance of their power. Others will grief as a sort of performance of an expression of their emotion. Maybe the person who built the base wronged them in some kind of way, And because they can't just talk it out and say, hey man, what you did really hurt and it made me sad. And I just want to yell at you because of what you did. I mean, if you kind of had a conversation like that, especially with the older generations, boomers, I mean, each generation seems to be getting better. But regardless, it doesn't work out that way in most scenarios. So all we're left with are these devices of expressing our emotion in ways that are quote-unquote socially acceptable. And I don't think it's healthy, and I think we can see that in Minecraft. And in a safe place like Minecraft, we can see that an expression of emotion can certainly lend itself well to an interesting culture like Minecraft Anarchy. But at the same time, when things like this happen in the real world as an expression of our emotion, that's where it gets to be not okay. The people who I griefed just now can forgive me, because it's just a block game. But if I had done this same thing to their houses, or to people that they care about, or to anyone just in general, just the sheer loss of resources and maybe even lives, it's not okay. It really isn't okay. And we as men need to find a better way of expressing our emotion, and to also not shut other men down when they do it in a way that we might deem as effeminate. And certainly, I think it's great that there are masculine ways of expressing emotion, but we need to be a bit more open and find more masculine ways of emotion, because through strength and power and destruction, we will inevitably hurt others in our quest to seek that release that expressing emotion can bring. And for those that aren't strong, for those that aren't powerful, for those that aren't clever, there needs to be a better way. Well, that's all I've got for now. But isn't it nice that Minecraft Anarchy can bring this for us, can bring us a masculine way to deal with our emotion? So, for now, while you explore your expression of emotion, man, I have a really hard time saying expression. Until then, try to be a bit more expressive of your emotion. And maybe sometimes you'll get called effeminate. But I mean, look at me. I'm by no means the peak definition of masculinity. However, at least have no doubts as to the sufficiency of my masculinity. And really, that's half of masculinity right there. I feel like I'm confident enough in myself as a man. Certainly I'm not the strongest or the smartest or anything else. But I'm honest with myself, and I'm honest, or at least I'm getting to be more honest with my emotion. And the more I do that, the healthier I get, and the healthier choices I make, both for myself and the people and environment around me. And I think that's the best you can do. If you try to be the best, it's maybe you will, but you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Just be you at your best, and I think everything else will fall in line. And sometimes finding the way to be at your best certainly is taking care of your body and the people around you and yourself. And part of that taking care of yourself is being able to express emotion in a way that makes sense for you, free from the perception and judgment and exploitation of others. Well, I guess this topic isn't really a Minecraft topic per se, but I do feel like Minecraft Anarchy really does make for a safe place to express your emotion, however it may be, because most of us are anonymous, and who gives a fuck if Joe Blow on Constantiam.net thinks you're effeminate? Doesn't matter. It's all inconsequential. Man, I can't say. I'm just having trouble with like these words. Inconsequential. Anyway, yeah. I think that's enough rambling for me. Well, I hope you like my grieving video. It's pretty decent ruins. I didn't really get the roofs. Like, look at this. It's like kind of like hanging down. That's cool. Keith, Rupin, Wilfrey, I hope you can forgive me. All right. Cheerio. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my new setup. It's a work in progress, but yeah, if you like this video, as usual, please like, comment, etc. And definitely share it with everyone. In particular, if you can think of other men that you know, or soon-to-be men, I think we as a society are definitely getting better at teaching men how to deal with emotion, and getting closer and closer to knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable, that it's okay to have emotion, and that the expression of these things are actually good for men and the people around them. It's good for women too, but certainly men need to be taught in different ways how to do that. And this is my attempt at that. Obviously in a Minecraft context, and certainly if you know men who are not even close to being able to have this kind of conversation, certainly I would suggest having them try Anarchy servers, whether it be Minecraft or like games that are actually built for Anarchy, like Rust. It's not always the best expression of masculinity, but sometimes it's just the best we've got right now. So, yeah, share this video with them even, and maybe it can sort of plant the seed of, it's okay. Yeah, sorry if this isn't really in the Minecraft space, but I do feel like I couldn't have found these thoughts without being in the Minecraft space. So, anyway, that's just sort of additional meta commentary in my experience of playing Minecraft Anarchy. All right, see you next one. Like, comment, subscribe. What the fuck am I doing?